me say it.
Considering you got the two probably last day we're listening to it. So the live stream. Traffic's been working in front. He's been here.
I agree. I feel like I'm selling myself for long.
Kind of.
Yes, I would like to receive emails. I get emails from you.
That's all I have is
So that's what we're talking
I have one that I can
Oh, wait. That's already right. Okay, good. So hit share or record. You can open and say that.
Oh, I'm in Hanoi Insider. That was fast.
I got you.
But I also want to get, is your email in here?
Probably not. Let me get that.
That too, because I mean, just that way.
Actually, you know what? Hold on, I'm going to show you.
ready.
We're live. Okay, so this is the screen. This goes black. This needs to go off. But we're going to play this song right now. Just a second.
All right, ladies. I invite you to stand up and we are going to listen to the I Am Visible theme song to get the party started. Should we do a karaoke?
The stage is ours. The time is now. We're ready to rise and take a bow. We're standing tall.
That's in your mouth.
It's freedom to be.
Here it is.
No more waiting for permission. Stepping out for the vision. Unbreakable, unshakable. This is the moment. Invisible.
I'm not cold. I know, I wanted to put the lyrics up, but we didn't have it yet. Later, tomorrow.
No more waiting for permission. Stepping out on a mission. Unshakable.
Karaoke night. You didn't know it was going to start with karaoke. Bring it all the way down. Bring it all the way down. All right. Well, welcome. I'm Christina.
And I'm Amy.
And we want to welcome you to the Women Getting Visible show and conference number 2. First time in the Midwest, and we want to do more of these in the Midwest. I am super excited that this woman is standing by my side.
Yes. This was brought up, we kind of planned this at the first one. So this kind of came to life while we were in October last year, and this is what came about it. That's what's amazing about different things and different opportunities and showing up in the room. That now a new opportunity shows up.
Exactly, and it's so funny because recently a lot of women have asked, like, wait a minute, you are partners. How does that even what does that look like? I'm like, because we are not jealous types, we're
No.
not grabby types, we are me people.
Yes.
No,
No, we are
we are
people.
we people.
Yeah, we but me. Together.
Yes. Which has been a really big conversation that we've had with others, and I feel like I'm in a room of women who are we people and not me people. So let me give you a round of applause for showing up here today and being part of this. So. All right, so we have the beautiful programs in front of us, so nice and easy peasy with everything that you need, and yeah, we'll slide along with that agenda. So, I've got to look at the agenda now.
Just ask me questions.
So we are live streaming on YouTube right now. So it is at Women Getting Visible. So that is where we're live streaming from this camera right here. So everybody knows. The two cameras up there are also recording. They're just not going to live stream. So you will have footage from today. So that, I think, is a real important thing for everybody to know. And what else? The house cleaning, right?
Yes, the bathroom's in the hallway down the way and to the right. That's where the bathrooms are. They're not in the room, but there is a code, or you can grab one of the lovely children over there to kind of let you back in.
All right, and then if you want a hand mic or a lav, we have both options. So if you need your hands like I do, because you can't hear me, well, you can, but yeah, you've got options. So without further ado, let me introduce the co-founder of Women Getting Visible, Miss Amy Nubson.
Thank you. So my mom told me once, your voice is irritating and annoying. And I took that to heart. Like super, like that seed just dropped inside of me and I thought, okay, this is real. Like I was 8 years old and I know I was ADHD. And I was bouncing everywhere and I was probably being a super annoying kid at that moment. And she did not mean the sound of my voice. That is how I interpreted it. So I stopped talking. I stopped raising my hand and I developed a terrible fear of speaking out loud and reading out loud. And I actually did not do it for a very long time. I did everything possible to avoid that. And it wasn't until my life crumbled and I was in a moment where I had to kind of reflect everything. Are we good? Yeah. Okay. And then I had to look at myself. And it all came because of a phone call. And I remember this phone call going, "Hi, this is the Fargo ambulance. Your husband's been in an accident. Don't worry, he's okay. He'll bounce back. He's there. No big deal." That was 15 years ago, and it was a big deal. 3 years later, I was in a 2-time lawsuit with our insurance agents. We were 6 figures in medical debt, and I had lost every client, and I had to reimagine my entire business because my husband wasn't able to work. And I had to figure out what was my role for the first time. And I had to show up for me. I was like, I loved marketing because I got to hide behind everybody else's view and the idea of who they were. I got to showcase them. I didn't have to show up for myself. Never sold myself. I sold them. So I had to think about, like, what was it that I needed? And I needed to bring my voice back from that 8-year-old person who sat there and went, nobody wants to hear my voice. I loved asking questions. I was really good at it because I always got back to the other person. I thought, okay, how do I do this? What's my opportunity? And I remember my friend, he was like, Amy, I have this play, I have a table read, I need somebody to play the nurse. And I'm like, what? You want me to read out loud? I'm like, okay, it's on Zoom. Sure, yes, I can do this. Shit, I was so nervous, I thought I was gonna pee my pants. I was so scared. And I sat there and I went, okay. And as we're introducing everybody, they're like, oh, I'm an actor, I've been doing this, I've done this play. And I'm like, hi, I'm Amy. I like plays. I know Jamie. Okay. And I'm like, great, I'm the only non-actor on this call. And I have this terrible fear. And I'm doing this part, and I'm reading it, and I have like the words like digitoxin, which I could not say at the time because it's all medical terms. I'm like, great, I got the nurse. And then I was reading, I'm like, oh, I die. Oh my God, thank God. I was like so grateful. I'm like, and I shut my screen off, and I just blanked out. And at the end, my friend Jamie's like, what did you think? I'm like, I have no idea how this thing ends. I don't even know who kills me. I found out a year later who killed me. It was that like blank. I was like, holy shit. But I did it. I was so excited that I actually had done it. My friend had no idea how terrified I was. Other than the digitoxin I couldn't say out loud, which we still laugh at to this day. I had done that and I was like, I want more of this. How do I bring more of this into my life? And I thought, well, let's do a podcast. Of course, I was still not brave enough to do this on my own, so I picked a co-host. His name is Mike. Young guy, gorgeous, energetic, charismatic, and he overtalked me every single episode. I was like, oh, I love you, Mike, but stop talking so I can talk. I did all the production, and as I was listening to I was producing all the work, and I was like, kind of impressed myself. The moments I did get to talk, I was really good at it. And again, I wanted more. And I let that podcast go because it was just fun. It was like travel and entertainment and health. It was just a fun podcast. And I thought, when the world shut down, what can I do? Let's work on great fear of public speaking. I enrolled in a class with my friend John, who is a TEDx coach. I thought, okay. So I remember at the end of the class doing my speech, and I sat there, and there was snot running down my nose. I was so bad. It was ridiculous. And I'm like, thank God this is on Zoom. And I sat there and went, okay. And should I get in and shut the screen off? I was done, and I'm like, 3 days, I don't remember anything past it. And I'm like, okay, but I still wanted more. So I approached John, and I said, I can help you with this. Let's work together. Let's do this program better. He was great in the moment, terrible in organization. The program was everywhere. And for 3 years, we worked together, and we developed that program so well that I started co-leading it. And one day, he came to me and goes, Amy, I need to talk to you. I'm like, okay. You're making me super nervous. I'm like, why? You're better at this than I am. I sat there with it for a while, and I'm like, yeah, I am. I am better at this than you are. And I'm going to do this myself. And so we parted ways in a really good friendship, but he actually never did the class again. I was the one that kind of held it up together, and I didn't even know that. That was the interesting thing about my role in that part. And it was all these tiny little steps. Avery, do you have my clicker? Oh, it's there. So one of the things I realized in that moment was how much I wanted to be in the center stage. Going from completely avoiding every moment of it to being in the center. And that was when I decided, do you have my PowerPoint up? It's not working. It's okay. Which led me to meeting Christina. And that was interesting. She's like, I'm going to do this conference in Washington, D.C. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I got on stage, and it was fantastic. Loved every minute of it. Gave me this confidence. But what I loved about meeting Christina is she gave me this idea to be more feminine. To be able to wear dresses again. Like the idea, because I grew up on a small farm in Wisconsin, and it was not thinking we wore dresses. You didn't wear makeup. That was not my culture. So wearing dresses always felt foreign to me. I was like, okay. To the point where I actually did a photo shoot the other day here in Minneapolis, and I wore this really sexy outfit, and I'm like, whoo, look at me in these photos. I was going to show you, but it's not coming out. And I'm like, wow. I never would have took that 5 years ago. That's what I love about clarity, courage, and confidence. I had to learn who I was in those moments of who I was, what was my story, and why was I living it. And the courage to take action, those tiny steps that just kept propelling me forward. and getting me to where I am today. And the confidence to be me, because it's like I get to be playful, I get to be silly. I also swear when I want to swear now. I don't apologize for who I am. That's what I love about what it is when you learn to use your voice, because everybody should be who they are, no matter where you are. And that's what I get to do with my clients, is help them weave stories. And when I see stories, I mean, I literally see them, and I help weave them through, and I get to retell it back to them. I found out that's my superpower. So they can hear their stories through my voice, because you don't always get to hear your own voice from somebody else's perspective to see how amazing you are. And that's the gift I give to others, is that weaver of story, and be able to let them hear it, because our voices are important. And this is why we created Women Getting Visible conferences, is for everybody's voice to be heard. I'm gonna do tech check real quick.
Live theater.
I think it turned off. Just move forward.
Tech is working. Yay! I'll put my picture up on break.
And next on deck, we have Tracy. So, Tracy, please walk the red carpet up to the visibility circle. Now let me do that for the camera. Stay right there. Yeah, exactly. I've got to stand here. Yay! All right, so next on deck we have Tracy. Please walk the red carpet and join me on the visibility circle. Amazing. All right. So one of my favorite parts about what we are doing here is the little pre-interview, so that you have an opportunity to get to know who the speaker is. This is one of the signatures that, and I'll share like I did last time, I would love to have a talk show. So this is the way that I get to have one. All right, Tracy. Ooh, here's a great question for you. How do you handle pressure or uncertainty? How do you handle pressure or uncertainty, Tracy?
That's a good segue into my talk that I'm going to do. A lot of work I've done is uncertainty, and we're always in a state of ambiguity somewhere in our lives, right? So it's trying to take those breaks, those pauses. And for me, it's just connecting with the stuff I know and the stuff I love, and to keep me grounded that way. That's a good question, because we just went through restructuring at work, and it's full of ambiguity. And before that, I did a restructure end of last year, so I've been just restructuring like crazy. But yeah, that's what I stuck to. It was completely uncertainty. Am I going to have a job at the end of this? What's it going to be? Just keep with what I know, what I love, and just and then understand as I'm going to hear my speech. So a lot of stuff what I had to do, you're going to hear in a second. But yeah, really understanding how I react in some of those areas, and yeah, just enjoying it that way, and just realizing that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. Yeah.
That's a great answer. No matter what happens, I'll be okay. How many times do we have to tell ourselves that? Yeah.
A lot for me.
So what's the worst and the most interesting holiday present that you've ever received?
Present?
The worst and most interesting
Present, I think.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
holiday present.
Okay, so hopefully I don't get caught up, but it was the first year we always, me and my aunt, who just passed, last year. And the first time, I gave her a funny little gift. And then I didn't think she was gonna do anything. I'm always fun having giving gifts around. I made this bedpan for Christmas once, and I said, hey, and then it became a thing. But this isn't where it started all from, is I can't remember what I gave her, but the next year, she gave me a big box. Just giant box. I'm like, why is she giving me a present for? Because it was, So I open it up, and this balloon comes flying out of it that says nurses are special. And I'm not a nurse. So I thought, oh gosh, I laughed and laughed and laughed, and so did my aunt. And it was just touching. Why I love that one so much, because it started a 20-year tradition of us trying to outdo each other with the worst gift that we could. And we always get the end like, did you win or I win? We have a collection of really ridiculous items. And it's always my higher the whole year. You come across something, it's like, oh, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and I'm buying it. So anyways, that was a really good question, and she's not with us anymore, but that really brings great memories.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So if you want a horrible holiday president, I'm from DC, can you hear? A holiday present, my friends, a holiday present. Get on Tracy's list. You too can get a bedpan.
Yeah. I'll tell you, my family, they showed up creatively, because it came up the next day as a photo album, and then it came as something, a fountain. Someone made it, so it was a strainer for spaghetti. We never used it, right? So yeah, sorry. Let's get this out. Try to hang on to it. There it is. I'll just do that. So yeah, it was just, it's amazing the creativity that happened with that bedpan. And actually when my aunt passed too, it came back to me. So she was hanging on to it for years. So it was just, I think it has fringe on it and all this other stuff, but it will never be thrown away because it's and holes in it, you name it. But anyways, it's amazing. So yeah, I love that part of it, because it's the gift that you spent a lot of time thinking about. And then when you give it to them, it doesn't matter how much it was, but it's just it was the thought, right? I love it. So,
Oh, incredible. Well, Tracy, we invite you to the Visibility Circle to get visible here
alrighty.
with your talk,
Let's see. Maybe it's just, I think it was just maybe it was too close there.
keeping calm by understanding your window of tolerance.
Because you'll see why I like to move a lot. So when she said the handheld mic, I knew it wasn't going to work. So if I stay away from the speaker, I think that was the issue. Okay. But as you guys know, thank you for being here. My name is Tracy Shantz, and I'm going to explain how to keep count by using the window of tolerance. Okay? And I'd like to start with this quote. People don't walk around with signs, but everyone is struggling with something. And when we're mindful of this, we are gentler with others. But when we forget this, we abandon humanity. And the reason why I like this quote, maybe I do that. Let's see if it works over here. I'll try that. Does that work a little better? Okay. The reason why I like this quote is because I was at a leadership conference, and a guy came up to me and he handed this to me. And he says, this is what, we had a conversation. He's like, yeah, this is the quote I use. And I laminate it and I stick it in my bike helmet, my motorcycle helmet. So every time I go for a motorcycle ride, I put it on, and it reminds me of this. So at the end, I'll come back and you'll see why. But it was just an amazing quote, and you'll see how this kind of all goes into the end, right? So the window of tolerance, I'll explain what it is. So some people don't know what it is, and that's fine. I didn't know it. And it's all rooted in trauma research. I wish I came up with it. It's not me. So it was developed by Dr. Dan Siegel. And what the window of tolerance is that it's where you can react consciously to the stressful situations in your life or intense emotions inside that window. Okay? But we always have stressful triggers throughout our lives. I wish I could say, once we're in a window of tolerance, right, we can now, you'll never have another stressful event in your life. No, that's never going to happen. It's how we react to them is how, if we're in a window or not. So we can go up and down, it's always going to happen. But if you go stay in it, you have that conscious ability to react. And if you jump out of it, you'll see, emotions take control. And things, you don't show up where you want to. So you be in, basically you can be out. But there's two ways in this. So there's hyperarousal, you can jump out of the window, and it's just basically what it says. You have anxiety, you have fight or flight, catastrophic thinking, right? Oh, I'm good for that. Oh, the sky's falling. Okay, you act like a child. The easiest way to think of this is when a 2-year-old temper tantrum. There's no reasoning with those guys, right? They're down there and you're just like, hey, you're safe, and you are just gonna do you right now, and you just let them be. That's an extreme case of hyperarousal state outside your window of tolerance. It's just an easy way to understand that. But then there's the other way too. There's hypoarousal, which are numb, depressed, shut down, freeze. And I'm not saying none of this stuff happens inside the window. It definitely does. It's just that when your emotions take over, those are driving the bus. And you're like, okay, well, what does this look like? So if you ever reflected on something, like an event, a situation, an discussion with somebody, you say, oh man, oh God, that went good. Man, I had that stressful situation, and I handled it like a pro. That is the professional presence I was looking for. In that case, you were in your window, okay? Because you had a stressful event, but you were able to combat it and react the way you want to, and show up the way you want to, okay? Then if you look back and you say, I don't know why I got so mad. I don't know why I stopped talking. I don't know why I stormed out of the room. I don't know why I said the thing that I said. I did not show up the way I wanted to show up. That is a great indication that you're outside your window. Okay? And that's where you can see the emotions took over and they drove the bus, and you lost your conscious ability to do some of the decisions you want to do. Said inside your window of tolerance is your logic and reasoning. That is your prefrontal cortex is on, okay? You can control your impulses. It's a big one. You have that conscious decision to act. And I say that multiple times because it's so important. You consciously decide what you want to do. And that's where your conflicts can be productive. So you're looking at, again, it's your prefrontal cortex, and you see things, you have these I statements, pausing. You guys know how to do this. I know how to do this. We all have done all these emotional intelligence work about attitude of gratitude. You got the, pausing, take a break, go for a walk, meditation, all these things. That's all inside that window of tolerance. It's your ability to say, whoa, I'm getting stressed. I'm going to consciously say, I'm going to try one of these, calm myself down, and show up the way I want to show up. Okay? So the prefrontal cortex is a little bit of neuroscience. We got the new brain up here. This is the guy, everybody loves this guy, right? Because it's the problem solving, it's the logic, it's impulse control, creativity, it's all right here. Okay? Prefrontal cortex, this is what makes humans, right? Our logic is in control. So what the problem is, when we jump out of our window of tolerance, this guy turns off. You just heard what the prefrontal cortex does, right? All of our logic, all of our reasoning, all of our problem solving just goes away. And our emotions take over. It's kind of like in the middle of your brain, about here, but I'll just point back there. So it's no impulse control. You don't act consciously, you act. It's not like saying you can't speak or do it, you're doing a lot of your stuff, it's just you don't really understand what you're doing. You're kind of on autopilot. And we've all seen some of these things that happen. Inside of you feel personally attacked, you overtalk, or you dominate conversations, or you're aggressive, okay, or you yell. On the other side, you can withdraw from the conversation. Have you ever had that? It's like, I was talking to somebody and they just stopped talking to me and they wouldn't talk to me anymore. There's an indication they're outside their window of tolerance. Okay? Feeling foggy, avoiding people. We've seen these. And I'm not saying those things don't happen inside the window, but again, we're conscious. These are things that are just kind of driving us. So it's our logic and reasoning turned off, and our emotions took control. So that's the old brain. That's your thalamus, your hypothalamus, your hippocampus, and your amygdala, all inside there, right? And that's probably just the tip of the iceberg of what this is responsible for, but your emotions, your behaviors, okay? Your memory, heart rate, blood pressure, all that stuff is being run by that. Okay? So we can function, it's just that the logic is turned off. And our emotions are in control. So I like to think of it as, what's driving the bus at this point? Is it our logic? We want it to be, okay? Or is it our emotions that are driving the bus? Okay? Now I want to note that this thing is, I want to make sure people understand that just because you're in your window of tolerance doesn't mean that everything you do is necessarily right or the best action. It is the fact that you were just making a conscious decision of what you're doing. I love this example. So we all done this, or I have. You sit there, you got emotionally charged. You know what? I think I got to send an email, and type. Yep, send. Okay, well, really good indication. Probably shouldn't have been said. And that's where example of your emotions were taking control. You're on autopilot. You can function like a human being. It's just that, oh, that's where I'm going. Now, you can do the same thing, right? You got emotionally charged. I'm going to write this email, but you stop yourself. You're like, no, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to reread this. So you come back. You look at your reset. You're like, yeah, I think this needs to be said. Probably, maybe it shouldn't have been sent again, right? So maybe it wasn't the best action that you did. However, the difference is you had that conscious decision, okay? That's how you can kind of see the difference between the window of tolerance and outside the window of tolerance. Okay? There's a big piece on this one is cycling in and out. Okay, it's not just like you're out, you're back in. Hey, we're out. Yay for us, we're back in, right? So you have that event that brings you out of your window, whatever that would be, some kind of trigger that created a response. And now you're catastrophic thinking, your negative thoughts and feelings are out, your emotions are running the bus. Okay. You get back in. People say, how do you get back in? Most of it is done with time. Yes, sir, time heals everything, right? It's that same thing, it just kind of gets in. Now, for some bigger things, you need other types of help, maybe talking with somebody and working your way in. But in most cases, it's time. Okay, so we get back in, logic kicked back on, right? Thank God he's back on. But we don't do any work with it. We keep those negative thoughts and feelings, and guess what? Whoop, we're right back out. Because that's our trigger. Whoop. And I can tell you, I had this big time. So as I was sitting on the ground, staring at my house that I bought 10 days ago, burned. My family was safe. I jumped so far out of that window of tolerance, you couldn't talk to me. I was hysterical. After the hysteria went off, right? I was up here. You can't sustain that sometimes when you're so far out that I jumped way to the bottom. And then you couldn't talk to me. And then something would set me off, I'd be up on top. So that's how you say you cycle. I'd get back in for a little bit, ask my family, anything would set me off. And I'd cycle and cycle and cycle and cycle. And it's not until you can work on that, and that's a little bit what we'll get into today, and you can stop breaking that cycle. Okay? So you can see there's big T and little t traumas. Depending, big T, it doesn't really matter if this is a distressing or disturbing event that happens. Okay? In my situation, I had a big T, but I have plenty of little T traumas that also contribute to the window of tolerance. Okay? And the behavioral trigger so those create behavioral triggers, and that's a stimulus that impacts our behavior. That's what it is. Okay? To get in a little bit of triggers, I love this book by Marshall Goldsmith, it's Triggers, Creating Behaviors That Last, and he talks about two types of triggers. There's unconscious, he talks about a lot, but the two that really resonate are the unconscious triggers, those are the ones we don't know we do, or have, right? And our counterproductive triggers, which is, they're not really letting us show up to be who we want to be. I like to say, wish we had a lot of conscious, productive triggers. Wouldn't that be nice? But no, I would love it. But yeah, so triggers, but I tell people, triggers are not the good or bad piece. They just are, okay? It's our emotional response to those behaviors that can allow us to show up the way we want to or not. Okay? So that's the big thing. A trigger is just the event. Our emotional response shows our behavior. If this emotional response is so big, jumps us out of the window. And then our behaviors run by this guy, the emotions, not so much the logic. But the cool part is, you can make your window bigger. Okay, so that's the same size line. You can see if you have a smaller window or tolerance, you can see how many times you jumped out of it. So after the house fire, yeah, my window was very small, and I jumped out of it a lot, okay? And then through a lot of work, and a lot of preparing, and a lot, you can make your window bigger, okay? And the biggest thing to start this is being aware of those triggering events and prepare. It's huge. That's where you start. So we have a worksheet, if you want to open that up, if you want, we don't have to fill it out, I'll just kind of go through with an example of mine. It's up page 10. So I wanted to give you something, this is a worksheet I came up with that can help you, guide you through something. And I say, hey, so if you have something, when you start with this, something that you got back, a meeting that didn't go so well, encounter, something that you say, wow, I did not show up the way I wanted to show up. Grab this worksheet and walk through it, as I'll do with you, okay? And through this, it's okay to ask for help. Because triggers, especially those really long underlying ones, are very hard to find. So you can always ask tons of people. You got mentors, coaches, family members, trusted colleagues, professional health specialists, whatever you need to, ask for help and say, hey, I'm trying to work on something. And that's what I got to do. This is how it all started. A lot of it is early in my career, I noticed that my meetings did not go well at all, okay? And my boss is like, well, I'm going to get you a coach. I'm like, okay, And through a lot of this work with him, I was able to start discovering my triggers and then working on them. But that's the first step. If you don't know what your triggers are, it's really hard to work on them. Right? Like I said, in a sense, it's really hard to identify, but I'm sure if you talk to a family member or a trusted friend and you're just like, hey, can you help me find some of my triggers? They'll be like, thanks for asking. Yeah, I know. I know my family does. Anyway, and it's being able to be able to say that and say, hey, I want to make sure I don't do this again. And I have to figure out why I did this. So let's look at that first question. So you look at that, you have a stressful situation, and you get this worksheet out, and you start with what happened. And try to be factual, okay? So example I had, I'm in the meeting. Someone asked, and I was prepared. I spent a lot of time, but someone asked a question I just didn't know how to answer. So I sat there. What do I do? Just start thinking, Tracy. Just, figure out what to say so you don't look dumb, right? Okay, so that's what happened. So I said, I was at a meeting. Someone asked a question I wasn't prepared for. I couldn't think of an answer. My anxiety increased. My thoughts started racing. I rumbled sentences together. People looked confused. So there's a key. They looked confused. Don't say they were confused, right? That wouldn't be factual because you don't know. But to me, they looked confused. And they had to interrupt me to ask more questions because apparently I just didn't shut up. Okay, so I didn't know what I was doing, and I just wouldn't shut up about it. Okay, early in my career, right? I still probably do it. So then you would say, how did I act in that situation? So my speech increased. I wasn't in my head. I was in my head, sorry. I was not present. Okay, I started to ramble. It was difficult for people to follow me. I was jumping from one topic to another. Okay, and then who was there? And this is another key. Don't forget to add who's there, because believe it or not, people can be your triggers. Okay. So this was the key of this one. It was my boss, my boss's boss, who was the director of HR at a hospital, and it was the compliance department lawyer. And I was younger, really new in my career, and I found me through this. My thing is authority like that really got me anxious, and I didn't know that. So normally, in normal meetings, I'm like, fine, in some meetings, why are these other meetings so bad? I don't show up the way I want to show up. And I started realizing it's people. And I still kind of have some of this. There's some people in my job today that trigger me. And I have to do a lot of work before a meeting with that person to make sure that I stay allowing my prefrontal cortex to drive the bus, right? So once we get that, then you want to go through the emotional and physical responses to that situation. All right? So mine, and it's fun. If you're at feelingswheel.com, one, you get to spin it, and it's just kind of fun if you just want to spin it around. But it lists so many emotions that if you're trying to figure out some of this emotional work, just look at it because it just helps you get all of them. Because when I would have said, well, I was scared and insecure, but after looking at that wheel, I was like, oh no, it's more than that. I was humiliated, I felt insignificant, I was exposed, I was powerless. That's how I felt. So once you can get all those down, you're like, okay, here's the emotion. That's why this guy kicked in, right? And they said, then you go, okay. And then if you can identify, try to get those underlying triggers that we don't necessarily know, that tell us, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't know what I'm doing. We all probably heard some of those. I say a lot. I'm still working on a lot of them. Okay? Try to figure out which ones were those, if you had any, that were saying, that you were telling yourself. Then think of your physical reactions, right? So in that case, it's shallow breathing, my hands got sweaty, rapid speech, dry mouth, my heart rate, just jumped up. And so, and I did this, and I said, okay, I got some exterior things. Rapid speech. So this is what I did when he said, go find help, right? I went to a trusted colleague, and I said, hey, you're in a lot of my meetings. Can you tell me, when my speech starts to ramp up, and you can sit in the back, if you can just put your hand on the table. Oh, yeah, I can do that. That helped me so much, because I could see her in the back, and all of a sudden she'd put her hand on the table, and I said, oh, I don't know what's triggering me. It's not always bad. Sometimes I get really excited, and my speech gets really fast anyways. But anyway, so he said, something's triggering me, good or bad. I don't care what it is right now, but I need to do these things. I got to keep this guy in control, right? I got to do the stuff that I know to keep myself calm. Like that, taking a breath or any of these things. I'll talk about a few of them. And then you want to say, where's the tension in my body? Because the interesting part is your body's always going to tell you way before your head is. So you can think about that. And this one took me a little bit longer than I thought it would. I'd be like, oh, it's in my shoulders. And I'm like, no, it's not. So really try to say, okay, after that, and I started realizing, oh, I can feel it here. It's right around my eyes. And I noticed that no one can see it, but I just start to squint ever so slightly, creating that tension there. And if I can catch it, I can sit there and be like, oh, I don't know what it is. It's tension. And I've done that so many times that every time I practice this, I'll just instantly take a deep breath, because that's, I said, tension, take a breath, pause. But I have one more thing, which I'll just tell you now, is I'll shake my foot. Because that helps me stay grounded. And with that, what I've taught and I've got myself to do is stay in the room. I mean, be present, stay with these. Don't get in your head. Tracy, if you can't answer the question, just say it. Okay, no big deal. Okay? So that was a big one. It's just tension around my eyes. Sometimes I get tension around my chest. Try to figure those out. Write these things down so you can see. Okay? And the last thing is on there is that what are all those things that you can calm yourself down, right? Because you said the goal is you're inside the window. You know you're escalating out, right? You might have felt it. You might go, oh gosh, what's going on here? There's quick, little, simple, easy ways that you can calm yourself down. Again, it doesn't matter in the moment if you know what you're triggering about. It's just trying to get you calmed down to keep this guy driving the bus, the prefrontal cortex. Here are the ones I love, and there's tons of these, right? I just put some on here, but like I said, I have a little note on my desk. Remember I have that guy at work that triggers me? This is where that note came from. And I have it pause, breathe, or sometimes I say stay open and curious. So when I did that restructuring, that changed a little bit to be open and curious to the restructuring. So anyways, that's how I kind of work my way through things, is have my little reminders. I love virtual meetings for that, because they can't see my monitor, but I can. But even if it's like on your water bottle. I've seen people put little messages. I'm not saying get a tattoo, but I've seen breathe on fingers. I'm like, oh God, I should probably do that, but I don't know if I want a tattoo on my hand. But anyway, but then there's rings that say whatever that you can like grab, those fidget rings, right? And they say breathe, pause. I've seen them. I probably will get one. And for me, it's removing noise. If I know I'm getting a little bit charged up, I need it silent. For some people, they need to have more noise. So work with your 5 senses. So sight, or another thing is funny images. Oh my God, do I love funny images or inspirational images. If you see my desk, I love pets in costume. I think it's the funniest thing in the world. I think it's like, oh my gosh, that cat's a cowboy. Ah, my God. Anyway, it doesn't make sense. That little tiny one, oh my God, I could watch that a million times. Anything that's just fun with pets. And so we have those up. Another one I have that's above my monitor so I can see it is Captain Marvel in a meditation state. Because it tells me even superheroes need to calm down. So I'm like, I love this. Find things that help you, because that's your visual, right? Make sure you can see a window. Make sure you can see anything, right? That's why you see those inspirational posters all the time, right? Because that's what's trying to help. Then you use sound, right? Remove noise, add sound. Like they had in the beginning of this conference, kind of pumped us up. That's, those great ways. Body movement. Whatever you can do. My little shake of the foot. When I'm in a meeting in person, I do it. Like no one, maybe they thought I squished a spider. I don't know. And I said, sorry, spider. But anyway, it's just a ability for me to say, okay, stay grounded. You're getting in your head. A lot of touch. If you have a pet at home, whatever, you pet them. Okay? And again, deep breaths, right? How's this good for your lungs? Anyway, so scent, don't discount scent. It is huge. The scent actually has its own little pieces in our brain that's separate. And it's like, it's amazing when you walk into something and you smell something that brings you instantly back to where you were. It's like, I used to do theater and I'll smell this room and I'll be like, okay, I know where I am. I'm right there. Because its scent is so strong. So what I like to have is chapstick, and you can get all these different scents. My favorite is peppermint. So if you're in a meeting, you see yourself, okay, I'm just going to use a little bit of peppermint. No one's going to say anything. I'm just putting chapstick on. That's what I love about these tricks. No one has any idea. More people know my tricks because I keep telling them. But anyway. And then taste. So you got taste, be present when you, but then my thing is I know I get dry mouth when I get stressed, so I always have to have water near me. Okay, because if I have dry mouth and I don't have water, my anxiety actually goes up. So it's like, realize what you do, but it also, you can see, it stems from awareness. So you have to understand why you're doing it. What did I do? What's the emotions? Why did I do it? How can I identify this before it goes? Okay? And remember, I said about that sign way in the beginning? They put inside his bike helmet, and he stuck it on. That's exactly what he was doing. I don't know if he knew that or not, but he was using this to say, every time I put my bike helmet on, with this quote, how we're gentler with humans, right? You don't walk around with signs. Every time he put his bike helmet on, he laminated it, and then you can put it on, and then he just remembered that before he took his bike ride, his motorcycle ride. Because yeah, he says it's stress out there riding a motorcycle on the street. Okay? But he says, that sign helps me, and I look at it every time I do it. So anyways, those are just things that I just love that too, because it was his trick to calm himself down before the fact. And that's what we say, you wear and prepare. So when you have your tactics, like I said, have your note, have your water, have your stuff set up. So you don't, so you can't, it's hard to control the triggers at the present, but you can combat them. And the biggest thing is to keep these driving the bus, keep the prefrontal cortex, so you got your logic and your reasoning, okay? Because the emotions are always gonna be there, but we don't need them driving the bus, right? So, okay. But what I love about this is, actually, when I found out about the window of tolerance, it was from Meredith Newman. This was years back. And she said, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And it affects every area of your life. And I hope that did that for you guys. Because once I watched this with her, I said, oh my goodness. That's why we have all this emotional intelligence work. Remember, at COVID, remember they just flooded us with it? I don't know how many times with COVID, I spiraled a couple times, a couple more than that. But I spiraled a couple times in that, and that's what they just said, hey, why don't you guys meditate? Why don't you guys do a journal? Why don't you just, why don't you just go outside for a walk, Just don't see anybody. Anyway, but so it's like, so remember they just flooded that, and that's what they were doing. They're trying to keep us in our window of tolerance. But that's why I love this, and I love the window of tolerance, because it explains everything. And why we learn the things we do, why we learn emotional intelligence, why we use it is to do this, to keep this guy driving the bus. We want our logic and reasoning. So yeah, all right.
Thank you. Keeping calm by understanding your window of tolerance. Thank you so much. Yay. All right. So next, to walk the red carpet and into the visibility circle, we have Heather. Come on up. Woo!
So glad to be here.
Yay, yay, incredible. So please join me.
Thank you. Let's, is my mic on? Can anybody hear me? Maybe I will turn it on. Let's try that. Apparently technology works. Would you do the honors? How about now?
How about now?
Yes.
Okay.
Technology is a wonderful thing when it works. Okay. Let's try this.
No. Keep it, it's too close to the speaker, that's why. Christina,
Okay.
can you move the speaker on the other
Yes,
side
we
of that
will.
sign?
So we're going to take a 1 minute break. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves, get a coffee, have some fun, chat.
It's too close to the microphone, it's like it's too bad.
Okay, how about now? Oh, so nice. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. If it becomes a challenge, I've heard that my voice carries no matter where I am, so I can always just speak louder.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Heather.
Welcome.
All right, so here we go. So, The question for you today on the Women Getting Visible talk show is, if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be?
You know, my younger self went through so many different pivots, and I think at each one of those points, you had this feeling like, I don't know what's next, I don't know what I can do. And that brings this fear, this anxiety about, you know, everything's gotta be perfect. I've gotta have it all lined up, I've gotta have it prepared. If it's not all laid out, mapped out with a project plan, it's not gonna work. It doesn't. And Amy said it before, it's gonna be okay. You can move through this with resilience, and the interesting part of it is that what you learn as you go through those pivots, that's actually what makes you who you are. Not all this prep work you did, which is great, still love me some prep work. But it's that actual experience and of knowing that I did that hard thing. If I did that, what else can I do?
And I love that, because when we have those moments where we can examine and go, wow, I did this. It's an amazing place to move forward. So most people see you as a coach, but you actually have a background in science.
I do.
What was the catalyst for the career change?
So I've had multiple pivots in my career. I was a scientist when I was a kid. I wanted to find a cure for cancer. Some people wanted to join rock bands. I wanted to find a cure for cancer. That's just me. And I moved through being in the scientific world and then moved into project management. And the thing that I loved the most about all of that was the people element. People are so interesting. And the science behind people is so interesting and changing a lot. And I gotta tell you, as we're talking about Tracy's talk and then some of the talks that we have coming up, science is science. It's gonna carry through everything that we talk about. And this is what moved me, was understanding people through this scientific lens and bringing the human element to that as well. So it's a combination. You can't just stand up here and talk science and expect that everybody will just follow. No, there's humans in the room. So how do you understand influence and what really gets people to move and make change or not? I find that so cool. Like, I'm kind of a nerd on it. I'm just fascinated by it. So I have the best job.
Yay, so we get to nerd out with you today.
You get to nerd out with me, yes, yes.
Incredible. So this next piece is actually a workshop with Heather, Confidence in Action, leading through the language of energy. Let's welcome
Thank
Heather
you.
to the Visibility Circle.
All right, and friends, just before I launch into some of the slides here, you're going to be working with partners. So if you happen to be sitting at a table that has one person or three, you may want to find a friend. So I'm just going to give you a moment to find a friend, because you want to talk to each other, because no one wants to listen to me for 45 minutes or how much ever time they've given. That's not interesting. So I'm going to give you a moment to just settle yourselves. All right, everybody has a friend. All right, so welcome to Leading Through the Language of Energy. And I'm going to figure out where I can stand, and I think it might be right there. Oh, okay. We might.
The cruise ship is coming in.
The cruise ship is coming in. Yes, yes, we are at the Mall of America. The cruise ship is coming in here. Maybe the handheld mic might be better. Let's try that. If you're experiencing operating difficulties, please stand by. Thanks, Bob. All right, let's try this again. Let's see if this, I think that's better. All right, we'll click with one hand and talk with the other. Here we go. So let's give some language here today to some of what you've been hearing. We're going to learn a new language about confidence, and it's called the language of energy. So how many of you have ever shown up to something and just kind of waited to feel confident? We're going to wait to do that thing until I feel a little bit more confident about it. Anyone? Yeah. Yes. Humans in the room? Yes. Thank you. Yes. We all do this. There's some maybe misunderstandings about what confidence is and what it's not. and how we can gain more of it, and how we can learn this through a new language. And that's what we're going to learn today. So today we're going to learn the energy leadership framework. This is a mindset framework that I use in coaching, and it helps put a language around some of what we talk about. What is the mindset of how we see the world? How does it impact our confidence? How is it helping us? And how do we pause and choose something that is going to serve us in this time? So your new language, first of all, is in your workbook. It's on that page with all the pretty little numbers on it, so you might want to get it out because you're going to be using stuff. There you go. I see you flipping to it. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We're going to learn how to recognize those mindsets and patterns. And then we're going to practice some real-time tools to help you shift those mindsets during confidence. And you're going to be working with your friends, your new friends if you've just met them. So let's start with what confidence is not. Sometimes we think about it being perfection. I know everything's going to go perfectly, so I am confident. No. Or maybe it's certainty. I am absolutely certain that I can get up and do this, and therefore, power pose, I am confident. Nope, not that either. How about extroversion? I hear that a lot, a confusion between someone who is very outgoing and someone who is confident. Nope, introverts can be confident, extroverts can wonder what the heck they're doing here. Because there's humans in the room. Remember the brains? Humans have them. And it's not about feeling brave. Very important, Brene Brown has a great quote about confidence is fear walking. It's not about being brave. Spoiler alert, it's a lot about knowing, as Amy said, I did that hard thing on the Zoom call with the snot running down my face. Did it. What else can I do? That's what confidence is. It's not the absence of fear or doubt. We still can move through life feeling confident and in the back of our brain going, I'm not sure about this. Absolutely. If we wait until we're 100% sure, yeah, we're going to stay in our comfort zones and probably not play very big and not come to conferences with a microphone. Absolutely. And it's not something you have or you do not. Oftentimes we think about confidence as a trait that people are born with. They're just naturally confident. No, it's something you can learn. The brain can change. It's a beautiful thing. There will be one brain slide at the end because thank you, Tracy, for setting me up so I don't have to teach you the science on this to begin with. Yay! One at the end. Our brains are so plastic. They can learn. So, what is confidence? Now, I'm going to invite you at this moment as I'm talking about what confidence is and maybe some of what it's not, is in your workbook, you have a question to think about what does it mean to you. So as I'm talking, you may want to make some notes about how do you describe confidence. So, official terminology, it is a grounded state of internal steadiness. Notice fear can still be here, but we are grounded. It is a capacity, not a personality trait. It is something we can build up to. We talked about the extending the tolerance levels, extending those windows. Capacity is built and confidence is built in that same way. And it is a practice. I'm going to give you some tools and some tips today. Spoiler alert, you're not going to walk out after doing it for 30 seconds and be like, well, I just moved my confidence to everything. Thank you, Heather. I'm sorry. Practice. Practice is a really great thing, but micro actions around them are what move us forward. And it is really a relationship with yourself. This is so important because a lot of times we look to others to give us confidence. We look to others to validate us. I will be confident when my boss tells me I'm good enough. Yeah, maybe for 5 seconds. But then internally what gives us is our feeling of, yeah, I did that. Look what I can do again. And it is a regulation skill. This is a practice and a skill that we learn how to do to, again, expand that window and help us choose to move into a more productive state. So, your first reflection activity for the day, I would like you to just take a moment and write down what resonated with you from what I just said about what confidence is what confidence is not. Maybe it's a limiting belief you had, maybe it's an aha moment. Take a moment to write that down. And then turn to your new best friend who is sitting next to you. And just for a moment, I would like you to share a situation where you wished you felt more confident. Now, this is just going to be about a minute of sharing, so we're not giving our life story here because we're also watching us on YouTube. Just take a moment and say, I would have loved to feel more confident when I got up to speak for the first time at a conference. That's your level. All right, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the clock to make some notes and then talk to your friend. All right, about 1 more minute, and then we'll go back to the slides, so make sure you have a chance to talk to your new friend.
Yes, I said that for my confidence means trusting myself and just my lived experiences and being able to rely on the fact that I'm showing up so many times. And the thing that I want to work on, or an area that I think I need to be more confident in, is actually producing some of my creative projects that are outside of my career. Specifically music. I'm a musician. I've recorded like 3 records of original music. I have a band. And I can't even talk about it. I get so, I doubt that I have the skills to do my projects. And I still do it. But I need to work on like feeling more confident maybe in that area.
Great. Okay, so I put confidence means the ability to show up as my best self and then give myself grace if I feel that I'm.
All right, friends, and wrap up your conversation. You can continue this over lunch. It looks like some good conversations are starting. All right, so eyes back on me, please. Thank you so much for sharing with each other. That's some bravery going on in the room, first of all. I want to applaud that. Thank you for bringing yourselves forward. Well, one of the ways that we can think about how we shift our energy, and yes, we did tee this up to use the word shift for the next talk, just saying we called each other and planned this, just so you know. To shift your energy is thinking about the first thing you have to be aware. Tracy mentioned it. If we don't know what's going on with our triggers, with our emotions, how can we make choice, which is what finds empowerment? That one in the middle, that choice, is so critical. Because many times when we're not feeling confident, we feel like we don't have choice. If you're looking for engagement or empowerment in any of your workshops, for your companies, this is what it is, finding that choice and taking action. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, what is this mindset thing that I'm talking about? Well, we see the world through lenses. Several of us wear glasses in the room. Let's imagine for a moment that we've all been in a similar situation. I have a blue lens on mine. Perhaps you have a green one, perhaps you have a purple one. That same situation, we're going to see it through different lenses of experiences. And here's the thing, it's not the situation itself that causes the trigger, it's what we assign it, the story that we tell ourselves about what is happening. So I could hand the mic to some of you and you're like, opportunity, this is so cool, I can't wait to get up and talk. And other folks are like, you want me to do what? You want me to talk in front of people? I'm sorry, the last time I did that, they got booed off the stage. No, sorry, no. That lens that we see things is going to be, what is the story that we tell ourselves? And it's important to understand that, because once we know what that story is and what the trigger is behind it, it can help us gain that awareness and then choose what we want to do next. So to help you with this, I'm going to help you learn a new language. We mentioned the emotions wheel. There's a lot of great models out there. This is the one that I use in coaching, so this is the one we're going to talk about. The language of energy really helps us define our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors as they relate to our more lower level responses, so levels 1 and 2 down at the bottom. If the screen is small, you have a handout. Levels 1 and 2 down at the bottom, those are your fight, flight, freeze responses that Tracy just talked a lot about, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here for the moment. And as you go up higher on this model, you start opening yourself into expansiveness, opportunity, connection, wisdom, flow. Oh, those are some cool words. Now, keep in mind that all of these levels have benefits and they have disadvantages. So we're going to remove the words right and wrong, good or bad from this conversation, because sometimes we need to get angry and sometimes we need to just withdraw and protect ourselves. The question becomes, are you doing that because of choice and because it's something that's serving you in the moment, or are you doing that because it's a reaction and it's just no longer serving you? That's the differentiator. All right, who's ready to learn a little model with me? You ready? All right. Let's learn a new language. So we're going to start with level 1. So this is the level of feeling victimized. Something happened to us. We pull inwards. We close off. We feel helplessness, shame. And shame is a fun one, and we don't talk about that a lot because sometimes we feel shame to feel ashamed that we are ashamed. Because that's what it does. It pulls us away from others. Now, level 1 has advantages. We can call others to us to help take care of us. We can phone a friend and say, I am really feeling overwhelmed by what's going on here. When we have an awareness, we don't have to manage this ourselves. We got peeps, so we can reach out to others. Now, in confidence, what does this sound like? It is basically a version of I'm not good enough. That is the underlying message. If you've ever done inner critic work or gremlin work, yeah, she lives there. I am not good enough. In confidence, it can sound like I don't trust myself enough to decide, to present, to share in front of you. Because I'm not good enough to do that. So let's take a look at the second level that's related to this. Sometimes we pull inward, but other times we push out. And the mic didn't like that. Push outward. And this is level 2, the level of conflict. So now instead of something has triggered us, instead of pulling inward, we are going to look around and figure out whose problem this is, because it's your problem that I am not feeling good about this. I am going to blame you. I'm going to create a conflict. I may create some anger around the situation. And what that might sound like is, I'm going to show you. Now, remember I mentioned that each level does have a value. So if we're feeling very overwhelmed by something, and we want to take a little bit of bravado here and be like, I'm going to show you that I can stand up here with this microphone and stare into this YouTube thing. That may be enough to help motivate you to move forward. In the long term, it's still a cortisol-driven response, so it's going to take a lot out of you. And it's still going to be something that may not be an affirming choice for a long-term solution, but it can be something to help you move forward. And now the next lower level of energy I want to show you is related to coping and tolerance. So isn't it lovely how science ties in together? Thank you, Tracy, for setting all of this up. Let's talk about level 3. This is a very interesting level because it combines two things. Remember that bracket of tolerance? In level 3, we are coping, we are rationalizing. And sitting underneath that level 3 is a little 1 and 2 going, I'm still here, still a little nervous, might be angry at somebody. And it's kind of ready to pop itself back out. But level 3 is sometimes something we don't see. You ever ask somebody, well, how do you feel about presenting? I'm okay. Are you sure you're doing all right? Yep, I'm okay. Just gonna get through it, and yep, the room is moving, but I am okay. That's level 3, that very flat level. Now it has its advantage. During this, we will problem solve. We will figure out that when the room at the Mall of America moves, you wear flats and not heels. Because that is a problem solution that we can have to this problem. And it sounds like I can manage this. But as I mentioned, underneath it, you may have sitting those kind of feelings that are very good to recognize. All right, let's pause for a moment here. We're going to go back and talk to our friends. And I would like you to think about the situation that you were just describing to your new friend. What of those 3 levels are showing up? I don't expect you to memorize them. That's why you got the nice little handout in front of you. So you can go back and reference that. And what did it feel like? It could be your body telling you something. It could be your emotion telling you something. Just people have different first responses that they pick up. Some people are more in tune with their bodies. Some are more in tune with their minds. Some are more in tune with their emotions. So whatever it sounds like for you. And then what was the story? Did you tell yourself they're going to figure out I have no idea what I'm talking about? What was the story you were telling yourself? And then what behaviors and actions followed? Sometimes just recognizing, oh, I have a level 1 response when this happens can help us figure out what we want to do next. And I will say that one of the reasons that I like this model, and I like it when we're talking to each other, is it somehow takes a little bit of the stigma around talking about things. Like, I'm just having a level 1 day. Well, if you know what that means, you're like, oh yeah, level 1, yeah, come here, let me give you a hug. Let me give you some empathy. It can help us actually normalize some of these responses, which is sometimes what is the hardest thing to talk about. All right, so this is a little longer. We're going to do 3 minutes total for this activity. So again, think about your situation. What did it show up? Fill that out. And then just turn to your partner and just say, what came up for you? What was something that as you did that exercise, you're like, I didn't know that. Share that with your partner. All right, I'll see you in 3 minutes.
to know what outcome I want, and not their outcome, not what they want, but what I want. That's the problem. And so I'm not confident because I'm like, oh, I don't know how to say what I want. I don't know how to express in written or words what I want them to do. And I think they would like me to believe that. Okay. That's what they need. That's my song. It's my money. And it's my project. And they need me to say, this is the goal, this is the outcome. I don't like that, I do like that. But I'm letting them, and then their egos are taking over. And then I'm hunched over and my breath is shallow. And I'm sitting there going like negative mindset, like this is why did I even think we should record? You know, like really just down that spiral. So that's my little shit.
I think mine equated to being funny, so I had at the time when I was speaking, I was outside sitting there with her, and all my introduction except my presentation just didn't land. There was a giggle, there was nothing. And the first thing I did was call this out. So I told them I would tell them the assistant degree so that they could laugh, so that they could continue to feed my self-esteem, because my self-esteem was
So you like put it on display.
kind of.
Yeah.
And almost blamed them in a joking way.
Yeah.
Actually, in a joking way. Blame them for the fact that I was not when at the end of the day, yeah, my teaching should be being shown. It was really interesting.
All right, friends, one more minute to finish talking with your new friend.
One of the doctors came up to me and she goes, you're actually really funny. She goes, but you're like in the South, in the United States. She goes, we need a little more time to get the joke. She goes, you're so fast that like if we didn't laugh immediately, then on to the next thing. We didn't have time to respond. So it was just a really cool lesson kind of then also look back and go, you've got to now know your audience.
You gotta know your audience.
Right? And I'm a very New York-paced girl when I teach.
Yeah.
It's our first in the country. And so that's so I can if there's
I feel like here, expand a little bit, like you guys don't need me hired.
and then listen what's in the audience that I'm first.
All right, friends, I'll ask you to start wrapping your insights up because we want to move on to the higher levels too. So, before we move upwards, I just want to pause for a minute. Why did I ask you to do that very comfortable exercise? Yes, I can see some people going, Heather, thank you very much. And here's the reason. Because what lives behind a lot of this is that feeling of the ick that comes from shame. That level one, that ick, we pull inward because it's so heavy. And with that level two, we're like, get it off of me. It goes on you because I cannot handle it. Research tells us that people who speak shame in a venue where there is empathy and understanding are much faster to recover from that feeling. It doesn't mean it doesn't still feel bad, but you're able to move yourself out of it faster. And so that's why we did that fun exercise together today. All right, who's ready to move upward a little bit? I am. All right, so our confidence is now going to start growing as we move into different levels of energy. Self-empathy, curiosity, and wisdom. So let's meet some of those upper levels. You can go back to your handout if you would like. Level 4 is now the level of care, compassion, and concern. This is where we feel loved others. We start taking care of other people. And this is actually where our connection to self-care starts coming in as well. In healthy level 4, this is where we are setting boundaries around the things that are keeping us from feeling confident. And we're able to say to ourselves, you know, it's understandable that you're a little bit scared getting up here with a microphone. Last time it didn't go so well. It's understandable the way that you feel. Giving ourselves that empathy, like we would give to our friend, because let's face it, we are usually a lot easier on our friends. Like, you got this, it's great, it's understandable you feel this way, than we are to ourselves. For self, we're like, you should be perfect. I don't know why this didn't work that way. So giving ourselves that self-empathy can really help with our confidence. And this allows us to both serve others and ourselves and reconnect. The next level has got to be one of my favorites. It's a level of curiosity, where curiosity did not fit on this slide, so we got question marks. That's how we worked around that. This is the level where we see opportunities. When we realize that, okay, yes, the mall does move, and how do I use that as part of my story? There's an opportunity here to tell a story. That we can bridge that gap and we can open our minds to the lens of possibility. Now, our brain literally changes when we do this. Our brain's like, we're gonna solve a puzzle. And we feel that hit of dopamine, that hit of openness that allows us to see the world through a different lens. And just a little hint, if you want to tap into this when you're feeling like you can, just looking at something and saying, ooh, interesting. Or, I'm curious. And saying it like that, your brain's like, ooh, puzzle. And that's enough for it to just pause and actually change how you see the world. So the message here in confidence is, I wonder what's possible. I wonder what's the opportunity that this wonderful problem just gave me. What could I see differently here? It allows us to explore. It allows us to experiment. It allows us to see what might be a challenging situation as a way to learn, a way to do something new and different. That's our level 5. Should we keep going upward? Yeah. Level 6. This is now where we find connection. This is the power of and, the power of we, the power of flow, intuition, and synthesis, where we start trusting our intuition. And we say to ourselves, we're guided by wisdom. I see the connection between the purpose. Something that I'm scared of is happening for a reason, and I get to tell a story. And that's the purpose of why I'm here. We are able to see that connection, and with that, the mind and the body calms itself. It says, yeah, I know why we're here. I got it. I am in that flow state, and my intuition is alive and healthy. And oh, that grounded feeling, oh yeah, we're there. We are feeling grounded. Our level 7, highest level. I've had clients that when I show them this, they're like, okay, so I'm going to be in level 7 all the time. This is my total goal. No. Level 7 are glimpses. It's these moments of awe around us. It's that feeling when you need that boost and you go out into the, for me, it's the forest. You go out into the forest and you look up at the sky and it's just like, wow. That's a level 7 moment, where you just pull those glimpses in for when you need that burst of energy. It's unconditional, it's without attachment, and it's without judgment, which is why it's not something we can be in at all times, because humans naturally judge things. We have to put things into categories. It's how our brain works. So, in level 7, we can create the moment. All right, let's play with this a little bit. I'm gonna go back to your partner. Same situation we were in, so you don't have to spend time explaining it. And let's experiment. Let's choose a level that you would like to try out for that. Level 4, 5, 6, or 7. If you want bonus points, you can choose more than one. There's no judgment on it. You can be like, I want a level 4 and a little bit of 6 in this. You just do you. Choose which one you would like. And then, if you were seeing something from, for example, the lens of possibilities, how would you interpret that situation? What might you do differently? Remember, this is an experiment. So, great thing with choices, you can always choose again. All right, so take that as an activity, and then just, we're going to turn to your partner and just say, I have now chosen level 5, and I'm going to practice saying, oh, wow, that's interesting. What's the possibility? All right? So about 2 minutes to do this exercise.
Okay, sure. So I'm gonna choose level 5, which is the energy, because I actually did some
she's Chicago, right? She was like Second City, yeah. I mean, it's the best city in the whole world for improv.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
that's really cool.
so I'm gonna take the opportunity to learn and explore that and figure out how I can just get better at that.
Yeah, just put some focus on it. That's great.
Without wanting to be, save the money.
Yeah, because I think it's really your goal is like to actually weave it in sort of organically, so that it feels like really natural, but also it's strategic, right? You're doing it.
Strategic that you didn't know that I planned to say it.
Yeah.
Right, because the one thing is, and I would never be an actress because when I memorize lines, it don't come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel like
You have to like talk.
like every time I give my presentation, it's just a little bit different because if I have it completely memorized, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I think I'm doing a combo because I need to be compassionate with myself. Period. It's just like let myself off the hook. Like you can't be great at everything. Right? Everything takes practice.
All right,
It's
one
a great
more minute.
opportunity to finish the project, and it really will require a flow state. So I think the best possible outcome that we get, I verbalize to these guys that I'm looking to get better at the skill of reading this particular exact moment, and just feel like what would be best for you is get into a flow where we're all open to finding the right thing. And here's my desired outcome, but know that I'm learning to practice to speak that, be vulnerable to them, and then not be judgmental when, like, my husband was just like, because he's an amazing drummer, so I was judging him, but in that situation, I was like, and that definitely kept me in low energy.
All right, friends, we do have a big break right after this, so you can have a chance to finish talking to your partner if you didn't get a chance to finish your stories.
Super helpful.
What you just experienced, that movement, this is my one brain slide, is your brain is plastic. There is sometimes this thought that as we get older, we can't change. That's wrong. The brain can change. It can form new pathways. It can form new ways of thinking. It's incredibly powerful. So we can always learn how to do and think something differently. So in the last couple of moments, I'm going to give you a couple of tools. I'm just going to put them up here all at once, that you can think about to help support you on this journey. So just go ahead and make some notes in your notebook about what you would like to use. The first one is about thinking about using a 10% progress backwards. Here's why. A lot of times we set giant goals for ourselves to do, and then our brain looks at them like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. It's called the gap in the gain. And when we set that, we can actually, our brain will tell us, I think not. When we look backwards and say, I took a small step, I look back, and I did it. And if I can do that, what else can I do? I'm like, yeah, I can do that next small step. And all of a sudden, we've taken 24 big, little tiny steps to that giant goal. So think about 10% backwards. Next one is creating an I did it list. How many of you check off the to-do list? To-do list, yeah. This is the same, but we're going to keep an I did it list. Every time you do something that steps outside of your comfort zone, that you're like, I have no idea that I could do it, write it down. Because when your brain is going to tell you you're stepping into something new, we've never done that before. We cannot do that. You pull out this list and you're like, yeah, actually, this girl right here, she did this. So keep that I did it list to help remind yourself that you did walk through fire and you lived. Next, be your own mentor. We're often really good at mentoring other people. Mentoring ourselves, yeah, who's got time for that? Being your own mentor can be talking to yourself in the third person. When we separate I from you, or even referring to yourself by your own name, we're able to step outside of that emotional response that we're having and create that pause and say, okay, Heather, what are we thinking here? And that can give us that moment to just create that separation and get back to the front of the brain being a little bit more in control of life. You can also flip your script. That script you're telling yourself, give it a new version. That feeling that you have when you get up in front of somebody, that is that little like butterflies in your chest. Our brain tells us whether that's anxiety or excitement. Not the little fling in your chest, that's just there.
So when you hear it, decide. So I'm getting up in front of the camera, I'm feeling anxious. Oh, no, actually that's excitement. I'm feeling excitement. You do that after a while, you'll be like, yeah, actually we're excited to get up here. And you'll get a different behavior. So it's your script. You write it the way you want it to. And finally, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. When we wait to act until we're comfortable, well, I don't think anybody in this room would have been sitting where they are sitting if we waited until we were comfortable. So it's going to be there. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And with that, I think we are at time, but I would love to hear during the break any insights that you had, any aha moments that you were willing to share. I am, for those in the room that were very interested in this and would just like to learn more, I do coach using this method, so I would love to share more of this with you. If you want to know how you actually show up in situations, there's a little assessment that goes along with it. So find me after if that is interesting to you. And with that, I just want to thank you so much. Thank you for experiencing something that is probably a little outside your comfort zone. And if you'd like a few more tips like this, my newsletter is on this QR code. You also find it in your handbook, especially if you like your tips to come from my dog who reads my blog and also takes over my LinkedIn post about once a month. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you for the confidence in action leading through the language of energy. Welcome. Yay. Wow, okay, so we are about to take a break. Well, and now we are. So if you'd like, there's some snacks. Coffee is in the back, the restrooms, and we will resume at 11 o'clock. Thank you.